It was night time, and when Isabella was at the balcony of the Hasbin Hotel, she was dressed in a pretty white dress with stars on them. The stars were gold while the moon necklace that she wore from the moonlight shined, as she waited for Alastor to pick her up for their date. Alastor showed up riding a magic carpet, and this made Isabella surprised to see the radio demon on a magic carpet. "How can you get that carpet to fly?" Isabella asked. "With magic, my dear, I can make it fly," Alastor answered as he held out his hand for her. "Do you trust me?" "What did you say?" Isabella asked again. "I said, do you trust me?" Alastor replied, asking her the same question again. "Yes, I do trust you," Isabella said, taking Alastor's hand as her deer tail wagged. Alastor's tail wagged at the same time as Isabella got on the magic carpet, and soon they were off on a magic carpet ride, taking Gainosaur all out for the land of hell. Isabella was afraid of heights, but Alastor assured her that if she falls, he would be there to catch her. They all soared through the air, while in hell falling in love. It was a hellish night for the two of them to be in love. Most of the demons didn't pay much attention to them. They were just minding their own business as the two of them were soaring on the air of the magic carpet. After the big carpet ride, Isabella and Alastor were both sitting under a tree together. Isabella and Alastor were having some drinks and snacks while having a fun time. "Are you enjoying yourself on this beautiful night, my dear Isabella?" Alastor asked. "Of course I am, Alastor. You're someone who I've been a good friend to me, despite us being deer demons. We both are kind of like in a sense. Like I died from blood loss after being robbed, and you were hunted down and shot." "God, those deaths we suffered from were harsh," Isabella replied. "Yeah, those times were harsh. But hey, if we didn't meet each other at the hotel, I would not have known both of us what we would be doing by now," Alastor stated. "We'd probably be doing other things. Plus, I would still have my friends at the hotel and work there," Isabella replied. From behind the tree, a few trees, sat a few feet from the two, Serpentius was watching them. He also liked Isabella from his first encounter with Alastor at the hotel, but ever since he proved to be a powerful demon, he was heartbroken to see Isabella was with the radio demon. Serpentius felt heartbroken upon seeing this, but he liked Isabella, but it was out of character for Serpentius to feel any heartbreak. He did like her, but her love for Alastor was for him and no one else. "Oh, Izzy, I wish it was with me with you," Serpentius sighed as he turned and walked away. "I wish you were mine," he said, before he walked away from the where he was watching the two of them. He would have had to accept the fact that Isabel was dating Alastor and would have to get over it. After Serpentius walked away, Isabella hugged Alastor close to her, and as she does this, Alastor's deer tail wags happily, as her tail does the same. Two of them felt closer than they could ever imagine. "I feel closer than I thought and I would feel," Isabella said to him. "I'm glad you feel that way, Izzy." "I feel the same way you do," Alastor replied as he hugged her back. "I wish we could both be radio demons of hell. That'd be cool," Isabella said. "I remember I used to listen to the radio as a kid. I used to listen to it whenever my parents were around." "You were a radio type of girl as well as the television?" Alastor asked her. "Yeah, I like a lot of old stuff from the 80s and 90s and early 2000s stuff. But in the older days, I found them interesting. But I always wondered what it would have been like to be in a radio show or something," Isabel answered. "Nostalgic stuff are we into?" Alastor replied, ruffling her dear ears. "Maybe at the hotel we can organize some sort of radio show where we talk about stuff, like things you are into, and maybe we can have it the Alastor and Izzy radio show. Like the idea?" "I love the idea. It sounds awesome. Maybe one day we could start our radio show, but I would like to start on advertising the hotel with you, and then we can expand this as we go," Isabella suggested. "That sounds fair enough, my dear. That would be just as good as any other fair day. As any." Alastor's voice became distorted when he said that, making Isabella cringe a little. "Sorry about my distorting voice. It does that sometimes." "I understand. It was just a bit nerve-wracking for me as well, as it sounds creepy, no offense," Isabel stated, hoping not to hurt Alastor's feelings. However, it wasn't the case, as Alastor can read her mind and not understand that what she was saying, but takes no offense to that. Understandable, Isabella. None taken, as I get that quite a lot, Alastor replied. After their date night, Alastor and Isabella flew on their magic carpet back to the hotel. Once they got back, they both walked inside the front of the hotel. Husk was serving drinks and had noticed the two walking in. Once they got to Isabella's bedroom door, Isabella turned to Alastor when she opened the door to see in her room to see Rex, excited to see his owner. Thank you so much for the date night, Alastor. It was a pleasure of you to take me out on a flying magic carpet, Isabella said to him. Anytime you want to go flying on the magic carpet, I can make that happen, and do anything else of what your heart desires, Alastor replied. As he got close to her, that was when he embraces her in a hug. Isabella closed her eyes as Alastor did the same. Then the two slowly brought each other's lips close to them, and the two formed a kiss. This was something neither of them had experienced before. The two of them finally kissed, with some time of being together. Alastor wanted to be stuck in the kiss with Isabella forever. However, the kiss only lasted a few moments before the two broke away from the kiss to look at each other. They were lost in thought, as that kiss was the very first one they've had together. Sure, they'd been dating for a while, but never knew when they were going to kiss until it happened. No one had ever watched them kiss besides Rex, who was just a dog and really wouldn't care. He was curious more than anything. I love you, Isabella, he finally said. I love you too, Alastor, my radio demon, Isabella replied as she kissed his cheek. After she kissed him, she bid him a good night and headed inside her bedroom and shut the door behind her. Alastor felt like he was in heaven. He never felt so loved by anyone in his life until he met Isabella. She was someone he considered close to him. He was going to have to marry her at some point. But since she agreed to be his bride, he would have to take that slow and not rush anything. He would pop the question to her now, but he decided to wait until the time was right. Until then, he would have to protect her with all of what he can do. Protecting her was his main priority, and he wouldn't want to go to waste. If she was sick, he'd be there by her side and help her get better. If she was hurt or sad, he would be there to comfort her and let her know that everything will be okay and that she is safe. The next day, Isabella woke up and took Rex outside to do his business. That was when Nifty showed up beside her. She was taking out the trash when he saw her, so Nifty approached Isabella with some dog treats for Rex. Can I give some treats to Rex? Nifty asked. Sure you can. Remember to tell Rex gentle and so he can bite hard over treats, Isabella reminded Nifty. Nifty told Rex the dog to sit, and the dog did what he was told before Nifty gave him some dog treats. While telling him to be gentle while taking, Rex ate the treats as Nifty looked at Isabella, wondering how she and Alastor were both doing. So how are you and Alastor doing? Nifty asked, admiring the moon necklace that was given to the doe by the radio demon. We're both doing good. I know I haven't seen you much due to the hotel being busy, and now that we're getting more people, things have been kind of hectic, Isabella answered. Who gave you the necklace? Nifty asked. Alastor did, when I agreed to be his bride, and the necklace will show that I belong to him, Isabella answered as she and Nifty were walking back to the hotel. Rex followed along as he was a good listener and went whenever Isabella went most of the time. So you two are engaged? Nifty asked. Not quite, although Alastor will pop in the question when the time is right. Some male demons will be jealous, but not Angel Dust since, well, he is only into men, Isabella replied. He and I get along just fine, and his radio voice reminds me of the radio tunes I listened back to before I was sent to hell, Nifty replied, as she held the door for Isabella and Rex. Once inside the hotel, they both stopped to get some breakfast before Nifty went back to cleaning her duties. Isabella was back in her room when she found her bathing suit in one of the drawers. She had a good idea where her next date with Alastor should be at. Rex was chewing on his toy when she got an idea. As she was getting used to her bathing suit and towel, she heard a hard knock at the door, and it was Charlie. She opened the door to let Charlie inside the room. Hey Charlie, what's going on? Isabella asked. You have a package for you. Did you order from mermaids.com? Charlie asked as she handed Isabella her package. Why, yes, I did. See, I wanted to try out a mermaid tail for myself. Isabella explained as she opened her package. There was a purple mermaid tail with light magenta fins at the end. She tried it on while she was sitting on her bed. That's cool. I never knew there was a website for that. But this hotel has no pool, but it's still a work in progress, Charlie said. How big is the pool gonna be? Isabella asked. You'll soon see when it's finished. But now you got your mermaid tail, where are you gonna use it? Charlie asked, questioning her. I plan to go to the beach in hell to use it. I want to pull a mermaid date with Alastor, Isabella stated. I'm sure he'd like to see a dear mermaid, Charlie said. Anyway, how are you and the radio demon holding out? We've both been doing good. Our date last night went well. I even got my first kiss, Isabella explained. You did? Charlie then got excited upon hearing that Isabella and Alastor kissed. How did the kiss went? It was lovely, Charlie, and that kiss felt like we were in heaven, Isabella replied. You should get to know him more. Since you have agreed to be his wife, maybe there's a chance he could, maybe pop the question, Charlie exclaimed excitedly. I hope he does soon, although it has been a few weeks since he stayed here, Isabella replied. Isabella and Alastor spent the day at the beach in hell. Isabella got to try out her new mermaid tail that she bought. When Alastor saw her mermaid tail on, he called her Ariel since that was the name of the mermaid from the Disney movie. Isabella was on the rock's edge where she laid there, water splashing as she felt like a real mermaid, and could see Alastor not far from where she was. She also sang a bit from The Little Mermaid, as this was a perfect time to do so. Alastor loved her singing. It was music to his ears and he loved her. He always had a soft spot in his heart for Isabella, and dating her was the best thing that's ever happened to him. Beautiful singing, my dear, Alastor said as water splashed behind Isabella. I'm glad you like my singing, Alastor, and I'm glad I got to use my mermaid tail today, Isabella said as she got down and undid and got off her mermaid tail before joining the shore with Alastor. Since they were both at shore, Isabella was singing with Alastor. The two watched some other demons playing in the sand and water, while the rest were sunbathing. It's nice to see demons at the beach, Isabella said. It sure is, my dear, Alastor replied as he had his arm around her. Alastor, I was wondering if you could tell me a bit more about yourself while you were living. I know we're from Louisiana, New Orleans, and we know how we both died, but I didn't get to much know of your backstories. I've talked to you a bit about my parents, but I'm just wondering if you're comfortable talking about your backstories more, Isabella said. You probably may end up judging me for my past, my dear. That's why I'm hesitant to talk about it, Alastor answered. I won't judge you for it, Alastor. If you just tell me, I'll tell you mine, Isabella said. All right. Promise you won't get angry with me if I tell you, Alastor replied, hoping Isabella would not get mad at him for his past. I promise, Alastor. I won't get angry or judge you for it, Isabella stated. Thanks for understanding, Alastor said, before taking a deep breath to speak to his backstory. Well, for starters, I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. Like you and your family, obviously. You know how I don't like being touched. Well, aside from that I trust you, the main reason for not being touched, well, it triggers me. Especially from behind due to a few traumatic moments from my past while I was still alive, Alastor explained. Were you abused? Isabel asked. What? Well, my dad wasn't really around much, but he did hurt me and my mother. It was very traumatic and Alastor started to cheer up, which made Isabella sad, so she hugged him. You don't need to say any more. Let's just say he hurt you. Was verbal and physical? Isabella asked. Verbally and emotionally. My mother eventually left him when I was a child, so I barely had any memories of my dad, but that is all I remember from him. When I became a radio talk show host, I murdered my dad for my revenge. I felt so good as I wanted him dead for what he did to me and my mother, Alastor answered. I don't blame you for that. My dad was kind of the same, but my parents separated and both of them got worse, so we have a lot in common with our parents than we fought, Isabella stated. After I killed my father, I started murdering more people. I enjoyed it and I couldn't stop. I kept killing more and more people. I kept going on like that till, well, I was killed, Alastor said. My dad knew something was up about you before hell. If you remembered him, he was suspicious of you during the radio talk show. He always told me and my mom about it, Isabella replied. But I'm not judging you for your ways before hell. I still like you." "I appreciate that, my dear," Alastor said as he hugged her. "What did you do with the victims after you murdered them?" Isabella asked. "Well, what I did with the murder victims, I would bury their bodies on a deer hunting ground. That was until sometime in 1933. While burying the body of one of my victims, I was shot and killed after being mistaken by a deer by a hunter. This is why my deer form shares many characteristics of that of a deer," Alastor explained. "My half-deer demon form became this way. I used to always see deer in my backyard of my house every morning. I saved one from a bear trap once. I still have no idea why my dad still had them out at the time," Isabella said. "That explains why you're a bit of a deer yourself," Alastor replied. "Yeah, anyways," Isabella continued, "as a child, I had a happy childhood in Louisiana with my family. I did have a younger brother at the time. He was funny and always made me smile. Even when my parents argued, my brother was there to make sure I was okay. My brother only died when I was only 8. He was jumping on my parents' bed one night, and my dad was home while my mom was out when he died." "How did he die?" Alastor asked. "Well, jumping on my parents' bed, my dad took the screen out from the window to do some work on it. I was listening to the radio, and my brother, who was curious, headed for the window to see what was out there. The window he fell from was at least 10 feet above ground. My brother leaned forward too much, and he ended up falling out of the window," Isabella explained, before taking a breath before continuing. "I heard my brother jumped out, so I headed for my parents' bedroom, but my brother wasn't there. I ended up looking down to see my brother on the ground dead. I screamed and I got my dad, and he rushed my brother to the hospital. I knew my brother was dead, but I was scared thinking he'll be okay. When we got to the hospital, the doctors did all they could do in trying to save my brother, but they couldn't save him." Isabella began to cry at this. Talking about her dead brother really hurt her heart. "You lost your brother at a young age? Were you an only child since he died?" Alastor asked her. "Yes, ever since my brother died, I was the only child since that happened. I was so sad when my brother died. I kept thinking that I failed as a big sister to watch him. But no matter what I said, my parents kept telling me that it wasn't my fault, and kids get into danger at home whenever you aren't looking. I do wish I could see my brother in hell if he was in hell along with my parents," Isabella answered as she cried. Alastor hugged her as he felt bad for his girlfriend. She had lost her brother before she came to hell, and it had been hard on her since then. He never had a sibling in his life, and he was the only child, so he never had anyone younger or older than him to look up to. But seeing Isabella upset made him sad. He didn't want to see her cry. It just broke his heart, seeing the one he loved upset. "I know, sweetheart, if I ever had a younger sibling myself, as I was the only child, but even if I had an older, younger sibling, I would feel devastated if something were to happen to you," Alastor said as he comforted Isabella, letting her know that he was there for her. "I appreciate you being with me, Alastor. You seem to understand all the shit I went through. No one other than Charlie, Vaggie, and Angel Dust understood what I went through in my past. Most of the people I met in hell never understood. They shook off my story in the past as just some sob story," Isabella stated. "It's unfortunate. It happens to everyone. But never to fear, my dear. I understand all the rough past in your life you've gone through. But the future of us together, I will make sure nothing happens to our lives and future generations," Alastor reassured his girlfriend, and then an idea popped in his head. "Say, want to get some ice cream while we're on the beach?" "Sure, ice cream sounds good, Al," Isabella said, as she and Alastor both got up and walked over to the ice cream stand near the beach to grab some ice cream.